Hey all, so this is War 5. We're up against TCN, massive accounts. Everyone knows the deal, won't really go into that. So there are a lot of big fights today. I'm going to talk over this Spot versus Blade one first, because this is a good spot placement. Blade normally destroys Spot because he reduces the ability accuracy of the spots and therefore doesn't have to worry too much about him going untouchable. All of these Path 4 placements increase defensive ability accuracy, and so increase the number of spots gained. That's why we're already up to 4, and we were at 2 before the special 2. That's spooky. So we hit in right there, we do get a rupture on us, and then we just try and stay away from him. But the thing that you'll notice throughout this fight is that I am just parrying and doing 1 or 2 hits, because I am trying to make sure that I am gaining most of my power just from him bleeding, not from me actually hitting him. And if he did get up to 3 or 4 spots, every time I threw a special he was only at 2, but if he did get up to 4, I would step back into my special 2s rather than combo into them to make sure I didn't send him into 5, because if you do throw a special 2 into untouchable, you can die very, very quickly. Now, moving on to this Mantis here, this is basically just, okay, I'm using somebody with an armor up against a tactic defender, and so we're not going to worry about that. I do go ahead and throw the regen boost on myself so that we are getting around Mantis's Tranquilize at first. It's not having a huge effect on the fight, and honestly, I think next time I'd leave it off. Because obviously we're not getting the regen through the heal block. I knew that going in. But the cadence of this fight also means that by the time we apply our first real debuff there with that disintegration, the regen's already gone. And so her Tranquilize is back. And so it didn't actually help us. We were still taking the gamble. So yeah, next time I think I'd play it a little bit differently. But you are noticing that I am baiting a lot of heavies, taking advantage of the AI bias that's happening because we're in Surging Swarm, and I am just hitting her a bunch and spamming special 2s. Nothing else going on in this fight. You will see a lot of that on these kind of vanilla Ant-Man fights here, because I haven't really used him in war before. I think I have, maybe in season, maybe just in off season, and I've seen a bunch of fights of his. I have a lot of friends who use him quite a bit. B McG over in 4 Loki uses him constantly. And so I did have models. I knew what he could do, but this was the first time assignments had worked out where it made sense for me to bring my rank 5. And so that is what you're seeing here. That said, the standard for a lot of his fights is bait heavies and punish them, because when you punish heavies, you get an armor up, and then once you get to 6 of them, they're more likely to throw heavies, they're more likely to throw specials, they just get aggressive overall, and at that point, it kind of feels like the fight is over, which beautifully timed with me eating a heavy there, but it kind of feels like the fight is over because you kind of stop worrying about the AI, and you just keep hitting them until they fall over, is kind of how the fights with him feel. Now, obviously, what I should have done there was heavy counter her heavy. I think I got a little bit spooked just by the fact that I had gotten hit by the heavy before. I think I messed up the spacing on that one, and so that's why I just went ahead and threw this special 2. See, here, I do it properly, and then I find my opening, and we very quickly close out the fight. But fight could have been done without ever intentionally dropping protection, just slower. Ideally, you do it the way we closed it out. Moving on to Zemo, incredibly popular placement right now because it is hard to take. Magneto can do it, but is definitely tough. If you can fit the Odin pre-fights, then future Ant-Man is the way to go. Those regens are very helpful. You do want a high sig one if you can get it. But in general, we are following the exact same game plan, right? Blocking, baiting heavies, getting to Surging Swarm as soon as we can to keep Zemo aggressive, and punishing those heavies, spamming special 2s. The basic fight is very simple. The one difference is normally you don't want the opponent to throw their special while the power detonation passive is up. I think in this case, it actually would be slightly optimal to let him, just because if it ends, the debuff is going to be cleansed anyway, but it's really not a big deal. One way or another, you know you're going to end up taking some block damage here because Zemo can crit through block and is generally quite rude, but it's just going to cost you some potions if you're taking it with Zayn, because he's going to handle everything else beautifully. Moving on to Joe here, this is a scary placement because he's probably going to go unblockable. There are a number of ways around it. I do think that Kate is one of the best, but you are not going to see a perfect run at this, both through my fault and because I kind of underestimated just how rude the AI might be. We're of course going to immediately go into a Tranquilize Arrow here because that 75% from a Sig 200 Kate is going to help us out. Now see, right there is bad play. I do punish this heavy, but if we hadn't eaten that combo, there'd be a lot more duration left and we'd be less worried about the heavy. So I do go for the refresh here. We're now up to 2. He throws this, and we hold on to the 2. So far, this is going beautifully. Bait out a heavy. I think my input there with the medium didn't work, and there I make a mistake. I am focused on the damage, and so I switch over to cryo. But I had the opportunity to throw my heavy and refresh both Tranquilize. I didn't need to switch all of the arrows right away. And so that was a significant mistake, because now he's unblockable and he's going to stay that way. If I had kept up both Tranquilize at 150%, then we'd never see any debuffs, we wouldn't eat this unblockable special 1, we wouldn't be bleeding. Now, obviously, switching over to Cold Snap does allow us to nuke the fight out the way that we did, and that was the long-term goal. But the safer way to play that is definitely to maintain the Tranquilize at all costs and slowly make your way back to the Cold Snap to close the fight out. So, next time I will be doing that differently. On to Havok here. Basically, the idea is, again, bait out heavies and hit him. Because thankfully the power burn does count for Havok's abilities, removing all of his personal charges, so we don't have to worry about debuffs building up on us, we don't have to worry about him going unblockable, and even through that energy resistance we are going to do plenty of damage. So very clean fight here. Ant-Man be good, y'all. Now he does throw that special 1 despite my best efforts, but that's okay. Then we just close it out. There, the tactic was helping us do a little bit more damage. Moving on to Kingpin here. This is probably the fight I was most concerned about throughout this entire war. The Zemo one was at least conceptually simple. I know the boss is not that bad. I fought Korg on the boss node with several different champions before. Wasn't worried. This is the one where I've seen even B die. I don't think that's a spoiler at this point. And I was a little concerned. So I was very careful about my heavy counters. I do instantly make this mistake, which, stupid. But I am still pretty much in control of the fight at this point. I haven't yet figured out the real trick to this fight, which you're going to watch me figure out in real time. Which is that if you keep Kingpin throwing heavies, the falter timer doesn't stack. It refreshes every time a buff ends. And so if he keeps ending a buff by continuing to throw that heavy, well then the timer is not actually going to expire, the falter is not actually going to apply, and then you are going to be much more in control of the fight. And that's going to allow you to be more aggressive and land your specials, and generally worry less about Kingpin. So overall you're seeing how good a matchup this is, because other than that first wasted special 2, it's gone great. But part of the reason I was getting into trouble at first is because I was not following that tactic. Here you'll see me, I don't quite, yeah, I know that he has to throw that special, but now I'm just intentionally waiting out multiple heavies whenever I need to bide time to refresh that timer. And that's my sole focus right now, is bait out extra heavies so that everything works out and throw special twos. And that works for us. So from the beginning, that's going to be my focus next time. Moving on to Korg here. If you haven't played Future Ant-Man since around his release, maybe you tried a 4-star or something, and you didn't like his light reach, that has been changed, as you can see in this fight, because I just messed something up and ran right into that heavy. That didn't used to happen. But as you can see on the second one, his first light has an incredible reach, which allows you to do the double light after Korg's heavy and break rock stacks really, really cleanly. Again, the Surging Swarm AI manipulation is helping us out a ton when the rock stacks come back, because we're going to be able to easily light intercept, but this is my first big mistake here. I'm not counting eating the heavy because, spacing happens. But that was my first tactical mistake. I threw the special 2 into Thorns, and therefore, the damage was capped, it didn't really do anything. That's a problem. I wasn't that close to a special 3. I definitely could have done things differently. See, here we go again. Does almost nothing into his rock shield. I need to play that differently. Once I waste the second one, I'm like, okay, I'm going to either time out or lose the HP race if I keep doing that. I need to change tactics. So now I'm going to both pay a little bit more attention to getting rock shield down before throwing the special 2, but you may also notice I'm playing more slowly. I'm not focusing on getting the rock shield down as quickly as possible because I want to gain more power. I want the rock shield to come back and then for me to clear it before I throw the special 2. I don't want to get to the special 2 before the timer elapses. And now that I've made that one pivot on that third cycle, the rest of the fight is going to line up better for me. You'll see right here, we go ahead and he threw a full combo that time. Not very nice. But we're going to throw the special 2 just a hair early because we know that otherwise we would have gone to the special 3. We know that power detonation passive, or sorry, the timer is going to keep ticking down after we throw the special 2, so we don't really have to worry about the passive not applying for the first hit. We're still getting damage out of it. We clear the rock shield again, and now we throw the special 2 again. The block damage here is adding up, right? But that's mostly because I was losing the tempo race early on. That was my fault. And once I corrected, you see me making very consistent progress. This is a very safe fight. I'm not even full dexing all of the special ones. So I would feel extremely comfortable taking this next time because most of the damage against me, most of his extra adaptive buffs, so much of the tempo of this fight was decided by me wasting the first 4 bars of power, bluntly. And so next time it is going to go much, much better, and I also feel like I can prepare other people for this fight in the future. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Theme of this season does kind of seem to be learning experiences. For me and for a lot of the Alliance, we have continued to shake off rust. We did lose this one because of that rust, not gonna lie. They dropped a few early, but then we just dropped some real stinkers, gonna be blunt. We'll keep working on that. We've had a brutal schedule thus far. I'm not worried yet. I know I keep saying that, but I'm really not. We've been in this situation before and finished top 10. That's still very much possible. Just going to keep focusing on our fundamentals and cleaning things up. We also had a lot of turnover in a very long off-season. Going to take some time. But I really enjoyed this war. Like I said, I haven't used Future Ant-Man myself in war in quite some time. I've usually assigned my alliance mate Bryce with him. But Bryce was needed elsewhere this war, and I do have the rank 5, and so I was like, well, I guess it's time. I'm going to make them happen, and I'm very happy that I was able to. Pretty much all 3 of the big fights, Zemo, Kingpin, and Korg, can be cleaned up pretty significantly for next time. So that's on me to improve. But I was really happy with how this war went, and I'm really happy I took Ant-Man to rank 5. So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this one, and until the next time, thank you so much for watching, and take care.